And a lot of it's location based. So hey, it may do good in Indiana, but
Yeah.
you put it in this
Virginia Beach and it's going to have an issue.
It may make less money.
Hi, I'm Russ, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you make amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And I am joined by John from Betson today. And John, thank you so much for joining us. Super excited to chat with you as we're here at 360 currently. One of the big things that we love to focus on is where and how can either new startups look at what are some good fundamentals that I should be aware of, or from existing operators as well, what are some cool new trends that we should be trying to be cognizant of, or just get a little bit better performance out of what we have. So excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm John from Betson. I think one of the main things is, keeping your room fresh, right? Having the new stuff in there. I think one of the big things too people don't realize is, move your games around every, say, 6 to 8 months.
Right.
You may have someone that comes in the arcade, you move stuff around, they think you have brand new games, but they were actually already there, but maybe they just didn't go to that part of the arcade, and now they see them when they first walk in. Right. So I think refreshing the room definitely helps. I think that's important.
Hey, one of the nice things that we've kind of picked up on over the years, or I picked up on over the years, is that simple aspect of, hey, if we have a game that maybe isn't performing as well, it may not be that it's a bad game, it just is where it's at located in the room, may not have the sightline that it needs, but you also get the benefit when you change up the room, you may not add a new piece into that, but it feels totally different, where guests will then come in and be like, oh my gosh, you guys have a whole new game room. And so it's really good cost-efficient ways to keep the experience fresh for them.
Yeah, and I think too, a top performer, you always have your top performers, King of Rings, Bassville, your quick action games are the ones that seem to make the most, but hey, it may be in the back of the room where people don't see it, so maybe it's not earning as well. Right. And it goes the other way too. You may have a mediocre piece it's in the front and it's making a lot more money than it would if, maybe it was in the back or something like that. So I feel like location's important. It's that first piece they come in, when a person sees it, maybe it might not be a great earner, but they want to play it because it's the first one they see. Yeah. So I think, changing location too really will make your games make more money, and I think that's important too.
When you're looking at a new concept and somebody is looking at kind of earmarking some space and square footage, one of the big things we're seeing within the arcade, options are there's some gigantic cranes where you're doing huge inflatable balls, or you've got Pac-Man, or you've got some of these things where it's such a big footprint and it's such a big, it used to be like, oh, hey, you can do, 38 square feet per person, and you can do, but now that's like 80 square feet and it's 100 square feet with where some of that is. Is there a good rule of thumb that we should be cognizant of like, hey, is it, if we're going to have 70% that are redemption-enabled games, we're going to have 12% that are merchandisers and cranes, and we're going to have another, 12 or 13% that are video. Is there a model where, hey, we need to have at least like 2 of these big bad mamma jamma ones because they're such a showstopper piece? Or do you have some folks that only do the massive ones? Or how does that start to...
I feel like the big ones, they really do make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I would probably put maybe one of them.
Yeah.
But if you want to cut your costs too, you can do a bunch of small ones. Crane rooms are huge right now.
Yeah.
They're affordable. Kids love that instant gratification. You walk up, get a prize.
Yeah.
So I think depending on your space, I think you could, if you don't want to get these giant ones, sometimes they're a little bit more maintenance too.
Sure.
Go with like maybe you could probably buy like 6 small ones, just, wrap them around like a pole or line them up.
Yeah.
And as far as the percentage, we usually say 60% redemption, 20 video, 20 merchandiser.
Perfect.
I mean, I think merchandisers are really the thing right now. So
yeah.
I would even, you can go up to like 30, 40. I mean, they do really well everywhere.
And I've seen a number of operators really start to take this concept that is become really prevalent over in Asia and is now there with the crane rooms like you were talking about, where it's not just the fact that it's all merchandisers, but they can actually then take, hey, I've gotten 4 of these small tier prizes and I want to combine and trade those back in for a mid-tier prize. Or So you have this gamification even further into what that experience is. But it's also a really cool concept of like, hey, there's a spot in the mall where I may, that may be a really good revenue starter for me, even as I'm getting my feet in the water and kind of learning some of these aspects while I'm waiting to develop a bigger, fuller concept where now I can take this little smaller square footage, really start to break in my team and get them to understand how to do this. But it's a really cost efficient model to be able to get into.
Yeah, and I think that's good, because most of these FECs are 20, 30, 40,000 square feet. You
Right.
probably do a crane room with like 1,500.
Right.
Put it in a mall. There's always people there, and they do really well. And the trade up thing is good too for if you're an operator. They trade the plush back in.
Yeah.
You just throw it back in the crane.
Right.
And even if they trade up for the bigger one, maybe you offer tickets instead. You get that back too. You put it back so you could kind of recycle it.
Yeah.
So I think that's good too.
In your eyes, and not that you get to have favorites, and depending, different games will do well in different markets and all of that kind of stuff. One of the things, let's say I'm developing a concept, I'm really trying to skew it towards an older demographic, like young adults with disposable income looking for the social competition piece.
Yes.
And let's say that their overall square footage is in that 30,000 square foot range. Like, should they be allocating a good 10 or 15%? So like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet for what that concept is for that, or
I think 3,000 is good. I mean, usually we divide it by 70.
okay.
So you're probably looking at 30, 40 games maybe.
Sure.
I feel like that's good. But I mean, we have arcades that have 160 pieces.
Right.
So it really depends, on budget too, what they want to spend or how they're laying it out. But, definitely if you have something that big, I would say at least 30 games at the minimum.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the biggest thing that I talk to folks when they're just, kind of starting to flesh out what this concept is like any real industry data that you look at, revenue per square foot, when you're looking at the top earners in that metric, it is arcade and redemption is still one of the top tier, regardless of the
100%.
demographics and where you're doing that. And I think that really stems from, one, they're going to be doing the arcade in between the other different activities or around the food and beverage while they're waiting. Yep. And so it's such a great way to increase your per cap spend that you're getting from customers when they're in there. When you're looking at the advancement of things like kiosks from the different card systems and things like that, it really, how big of an impact has that had for the performance of the arcades themselves? Like, since they've started introducing some more of those automated or kiosk pieces where, hey, we're getting more upsells, we're getting more this, like, what has had to change along with that evolution? Because they're spending more, but do we need to be more cognizant of what our payout ratio is on the redemption side or things like what else has happened?
That's a good question. I tell people, use your card system to your advantage, upsell. Have your kiosk, have your bonuses on there. Do that kind of stuff. But also, your game report is kind of like your Bible, right?
Right.
You should always, maybe not every day, but look at it every other couple of days. Make sure, your staff may not realize the game's not working, and a customer's probably not going to tell you.
Right.
So you look at your report and it says 0. It's probably not working,
Yeah.
realistically. Then we also say, check your payouts.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're paying out, 25 to 40%. Because people know if they play a game, they don't get any, they're just going to walk away.
Yes.
I think also is, check your price per play.
Yeah.
There's certain pieces like a bass wheel or a whack and win. We order it how much you're going to charge. So if you're going to charge $1 for your whack and win,
Mm-hmm.
we order $1 tower. If you change the price with that, it totally affects the payout because they're set off those numbers that you're going to be charging.
Yeah. Well, it's such an integrated ecosystem that one thing that you think isn't a big change, can have this ripple effect. And to your point, from a best practices on the maintenance side, it's like, have your staff go through and check each game every day if you can, but at least a few times a week if you're not doing it more than that, because you may find that, oh shoot, a setting got switched on this where it's actually giving you 2 plays for a single swipe, where now that's going to look weird. And so if you are having that point person who's going to be in charge of maybe just making sure, hey, what are the diagnostics telling us? What are the reports, to your point, that Bible aspect? Because it's going to help keep those small things small and not let it go for 3 months. And you're like, well, we're not making money on this. It's like, well, you're operating off of bad data.
Exactly.
In how to do that.
Definitely have your staff walk around, check the card readers, make sure they're lit up.
Yeah.
Make sure it's working. Even you could test them. Other maintenance, maybe vacuum the back.
Right.
Wipe them down.
Yeah.
Just like small things like that go a long way.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a local place here in Indianapolis, relatively smaller game room, 30 or 40, 40 or so games now that they've got, a really nice blend, but it makes $600,000, $700,000 a year for them. And it's such a critical piece because of where they have it positioned, where it's always within sight lines and where their party rooms are and how they're doing that. Like, so is there a recent project that you guys have done that you've been really pleased with? Just how is that performing and what did the customer do as far as the game mix or the size or things like that? Like, what's a good customer success story?
So I did a crane room in Queens, New York.
Okay.
60 it's got about 60 cranes, full redemption, probably like 50 games now.
Okay.
So he has it separated. You walk in, he has like his big pieces, like a JJ bot in the front, which is like a giant talking crane.
Yeah. And
then on the left, he has all his cranes. They're just they're in lines. There's LEDs on the top, the LCD screens. Then on the right is all his games.
Okay.
Redemption video, merchandisers. So I feel like sometimes separating it is good. Like, having a room with redemption and having like a separate crane room.
Yeah.
Is a good thing. We've seen those before. It kind of separates everything.
Well, and it makes it feel like there's that much more to do.
Yep,
of like, exactly. We've done this kind of a thing over here, but now this is a totally different
It's
piece.
totally different. People they'll hang out in there, especially if you have kids. They'll probably be in there for most of the time. So.
Yeah. Is there a good rule of thumb of, hey, I want to start adding in some of the VR components, whether it's a Rabbids or a Kong or a Jurassic Park or those kinds of things, like where the VR component is still something that's really fun, but sometimes that can be tricky where it's like, oh, hey, HTC is not doing as many of the headsets or they're depreciating this or that. But when you're looking at the pricing of a VR game versus a normal video game, like I tell folks, hey, if you're doing kind of a free roam VR thing, you should be doing at least $1 per minute per play on some of that. Are you recommending that folks, if they're doing a Rabbids or other things, like sometimes I see operators being able to charge like $5 a play for something?
You could probably charge $5 depending on the area. You could probably even charge $7.
Really?
We recommend putting maybe at least one in.
Yeah.
There's smaller ones too if you want to cut your cost, like a SpongeBob for kids. A SpongeBob coaster does well. There's like one called Brillix. Those are like around 20.
Yeah.
But I mean, Godzilla and those, you're talking higher price, and it's a big footprint too. It takes but they, at the end of the day,
they'll make that money.
Well.
Yeah.
Depending how many pieces you have, if maybe you have 20 or less, I probably wouldn't put it. Okay. But if you got 30 or more, I'd say
definitely
put at least like maybe one piece.
Yeah. So I was always when I worked at Laser Flash and was a staff member there, Big Buck Hunter was my game. And you look at some of these games where it's like, gosh, those things have been, like Jurassic Park has been around forever, but it's still one of those crazy earners, and there's something just so timeless, and they'll make cool new improvements and tweaks and things like that go with it. And so when we talk with clients, like sometimes it's, hey, individually, you may have a decent overlap with an operator that's, 15 minutes away from you as far as what those games are. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because those are things like, there are some customers that are going to be really dialed into, hey, I am a Big Buck Hunter or I am a Golden Tee power nerd and I want to be able to go and do that. Is there a way that you've seen clients be able to kind of solicit some information from their guests in order to see, like, hey, what are some cool new games that you'd like us to take a look at adding? How do they go about doing that successfully?
I feel like, people are like, oh, I want something different. This place down the street has all the same games, but I'm like, there's a reason, right? Like, I've been working at Betson for 2 years. Every game list I've done probably has Jurassic Park on it. Right. It's just like, it's going to be on the list no matter what. I mean, you could talk to customers too, but I mean, I feel like you can see, one customer may want this, one may, and it's also like, you don't know what's going to make money, right? Like we test stuff. Mm-hmm. The reason we test games is to see what's actually right. And a lot of it's location based. So, hey, it may do good in Indiana, but
Yeah.
You put it in this
Virginia Beach, and it's going to have an issue.
It may make less money. So
Sure.
it's really location based. So
Yeah.
I think that really makes a difference depending on the demographic too. If the kids like it, if it's adults, there's a lot of things to look at.
Right. Well, and so with that, is there a good kind of, hey, if I'm starting my concept and I'm talking with Betson and getting some good insights on what I should be looking at, what's kind of the 101 level stuff that they need to come away with as like, hey, if any games that you're looking at, like to your point, what's that ratio of a typical game room where it's that 60, 20, 20? With that, are there some other good, just like, hey, this is some 101 level stuff that you need to be cognizant of as you're getting your foot into the game? Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that I always tell people is just like have a tech.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the distributors don't come out and fix the games, right? So especially if you have a couple, maybe you'll be okay. If they're not Redemption, Redemption has more stuff going on.
Sure.
The video is just basically a computer.
Yeah.
So I would 100%, especially if you have 20, 15 or more games, like have a full-time tech.
Yeah.
We have tech support. You can call, you could talk on the phone, video chat, but
yeah.
It's just so important because you're going to be busy with so much other stuff that the last thing you're going to want to do is have to fix games.
Right. Well, and if that game's down, it's not making you money.
Especially if it's like a weekend too and you have no one. I mean, we've seen places close because they have so many games that don't work. And
right.
It's such a niche like component to fix the games. Like where do you look for someone to fix video games?
Right. Well, and one of the things that I love that you guys do is that, like, that Betson Technical University, kind of focus of like, hey, if we don't have a full-time tech, like, who do we need to actually start taking on that responsibility? And they may or may not have a ton of experience with that, but now they can go, they can interact, they can work with you guys. And it's like, hey, here are the most common things that you're going to come up with, and how do you keep those things in good working order?
It's a good, beginner course, I guess you could say. And, we can work with you. Usually we have, caps if you spend a certain amount, but, I mean, we can work with you. I usually recommend, if you're the owner, you go and, maybe send your tech, have 2 people go.
Yeah.
We cover the class. You pay for airfare, hotel.
Okay.
But I think it's a good starter course. You learn the basics on how to measure electricity levels, soldering.
Sure.
Just basic stuff, just to kind of just to see what you're going to be.
Well, and it can kind of demystify that, oh my gosh, how do I even start? And it's like, that's just hey, let's break this down to a simple
level. I feel like that's important, especially if you're new, because you're probably worried you see these giant games. And, hey, I mean, the games, some of them don't work right away. It's the nature of the beast. So you're going to be involved right away. Probably.
Yeah. Well, I love that, and I definitely hey, if you don't have somebody that can keep these in good working condition, you're not making money off of, but it also hurts the brand that you have of oh gosh, that they always have games down or this, that, and the other. So being able to keep that mitigated quickly.
I feel like it's electronic, so it doesn't matter if you're ordering from.
Right.
The manufacturer doesn't even matter. It happens to the best ones.
Yeah.
It can happen. It might be a bad board.
Yeah.
Maybe in shipping it moves around so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It could be anything because, with shipping too, we get a lot of freight damage.
Yeah.
So it could happen anytime. It may not be when they built it, they usually test stuff, make sure it's good, but it could have happened in transportation to us and then us to the customer.
Love it. So one final question for you that comes up from time to time, rev sharing and kind of working with a route operator potentially, and versus just buying the games outright and really taking that on. And obviously this can depend on, okay, hey, what's your background? What's your familiarity with it? Is there a good, hey, if you're brand new to the industry, maybe for your first couple of years, you're looking at doing some rev share so that way you can get your feet under you a little bit, and then you should ultimately transition into buying your games outright? Are there some good indicators of, hey, I should really look at this rev share or route operator model versus just owning outright and doing it?
I think that's a great question. It really depends. If you're new to the business and you have a giant place and you're going to be worrying about you just have so much going on.
Right.
Maybe you do the rev share. The thing with the rev share is you're going to be in 3 to 5 year contract.
Right.
So you have to, make that decision. And, once you're doing the rev share, you may see the numbers and you're like, I shouldn't be
on the table.
This is what I could have made.
Right.
But I would say try to own your own, just because you're going to make so much more money.
Sure.
And hey, you're going to make more money. You could use that money to hire a tech, right? So I mean, I would say definitely try to own it if you can.
Yeah, a good tech will definitely pay for themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't want to buy your own and worry about that, I mean, rev share is not a bad route. Maybe you do it for 3 to 5 years, and then you kind of get the ropes. You already know, and then once that time comes, you could purchase your own, and you already know what you're doing, so you're good.
I love it. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for tuning in and listening. If you have any ideas for future episodes or topics or interviews that you'd like to see, hit us up on social media. We'll be more than happy to get that into the mix for you. We also will appreciate any rate and review. If we're hitting that 5-star mark, we'd love to get that feedback from you. Check this out, and you can get our weekly episodes as they come out on your favorite platforms, and we'll catch you on the next one, Troublemakers.